Hi.
Good morning.
Well, that was loud. Morning. It's the afternoon actually here.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm pretty sure my morning only refers to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm in Paris, France. So it's 5 p.m. Hi again, Derek.
Hello?
Hi.
Hi, Derek.
Wow. Do you guys hear that video?
There seems to be some static.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
But not on yours, maybe on Stephen's.
Well, we'll wait a couple minutes to see if see who's joining. It is. It is time for the community meeting. I'm tweeting that as well.
What about Matt's nights with the baby?
Yeah, he's got a new baby. It's been teething.
Yeah. I kind of remember I had twins 4 years ago. It was not the easiest time.
My daughter is 3 months old, so I guess I have that to look forward to soon.
Yeah, I've been through this teething thing 3 times, and I think 3 is the lucky number. I don't think I want to do that again. Thanks for doing that translation.
You're welcome. Have you listened to it? Oh, well, not listened to, viewed it.
Yeah, no, I did look at it. I'm not sure what I'm looking at because I don't speak French, but I believe you that
Okay.
it is done quickly.
Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.
You
So
know,
I've uploaded it or submitted it in the YouTube tool, so you can probably watch the timing and see if it looks okay. So it looks like there is a noise. I mean, threshold detection for cutting the sentences, and surprisingly, it wasn't good at first time. So I had to copy paste a bit, but it should be okay.
sweet.
So I was thinking about maybe trying to perform a dubbed version. Now I have the script. I just have to record myself. So I don't know. I can try to impersonate Mirdin, maybe somehow.
Well, you know what? It'd be impressive if you could do that. They have, isn't there a tool that can actually, like you can, like they have you read a couple paragraphs and they can actually have you say anything in French and it sounds like you're saying it?
Some kind of deep fake, you mean? I don't know.
It is, well, this has been out for a while. There's actually services that offer real-time translation in audio using your voice.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know. I can't speak to the quality, but I think that's fascinating.
Hmm. I should try that. I'd probably be surprised or disgusted, or I don't know. It's frightening.
I think languages that are in like families actually works a lot better. Like German to English and English to German works fantastically because they have a lot of the same sort of sounds in the way they speak. And when Germans adopt like Latinized words like French or Spanish or Italian, they do it in a way that's actually similar to the way people do it in English. So when the translations occur, for whatever reason, it works out really well. Like they can make you sound German if you're a native English speaker.
Perso.
But I think it's still from what I read last time I looked at this was like a year ago, more than maybe 18 months ago, and they had problems going from like French to English or from Portuguese to Chinese, right? If they're not in the same language family, they can be
Yeah.
more challenging.
Mhm. Anyway, I'll look at if I have a bit of time. Like today, I was restoring, copying file systems and stuff, so it took a while. So that was a great slot for performing a translation.
I think Mirren's going to be on momentarily. Matt, so sorry for the late delay. I'll just get started while we wait for Matt to join because it's been 10 minutes now. So um, so we had two things. Well, actually, there's a third thing for the agenda, which just sort of came up this morning. We you know what? We'll start with that, and I'll let Overjik speak to it a little bit since he's already contributed. So this morning, this morning he says there's a way to contribute translations for the YouTube videos on our channel. Like it's like some way to allow the community to do that. So I went and I enabled that. I think we have to find a way to restrict that because meaning you shouldn't do it directly through YouTube. But what we did was we set up a GitHub repository for the translations, and It's called YouTube NRE Learning YouTube Translations, and the intro video, which is on the homepage of NRE Labs, is Obergix contributed what's called a subview file, which provides the translations. It's a really simple file format where there's like a start and an end time and some text to display on the screen for that, between those two timestamps, and that's how you add the translations. It's really direct and simple. And so we set up a repository with some instructions for people who want to contribute translations. And I think we're going to add Obergix the translations for the title and in the description in there as well, because it looks like you can not only can we send those subtitles through the API, but we can send translations for the title and the description through the API, which means that once your contributions, in this case, we went ahead and did everything anyways because it's the first time. But let's say you add a second translation for another video. Once it's committed, once it's merged into master, we'll have an operation script that will actually make that evening will make the YouTube calls, the YouTube API calls to push the subtitles and the translations for those things, and then it'll be on there the next day, and then it'll be sort of automated, and we'll have a way to review it, etc. And we'll have a place where it's all stored, so we know what the source of truth is for the translations.
Okay, so you can trigger that through the API if you're the owner of the videos, right?
Yeah, and we might as well just integrate that straight into our production process. There's no reason not to do that, I don't think. Yeah, if you go to here, I'll share a link. Share, participants, invite, record, chat. There we go. If you go to that link, there's a reference. You click reference, and then there's a captions section, and you can update the. You can send a file.
Nice.
Upload a new caption file. You can upload a new caption file, and then there's down on, I think, videos. You can do an update. You can update the metadata of the video. Yeah, there's got to be a way to change the title. Oh wait, here we go.
Automation everywhere.
Yeah, it says yeah, description and title can be updated.
Okay, so for the moment there aren't so many videos, but I guess at some point in time it would be great to have like one introductory video, maybe for each lesson or something like that, just to make it more, maybe show a demo before someone tries a course or something like that. So it could be quite handy.
Oh, that would be cool. That'd be awesome, actually. Yep. You can do the title, the description, and the file. We can automate all of that. That's pretty cool.
Great.
Oh, so is that somebody trying to ring in here? No. So anyways, we started that, and thank you for doing that translation. It's cool. That's awesome that it's up and working, and I'll work on the op script to do the automation on the back end. Probably sometime, whenever I have time. Probably next week I'll have a look at it, because I'm actually traveling to Portland to meet with Matt tomorrow. To have a meeting, and hang out. So the other thing is I've been working on Brian Linkletter wanted this FRR image, and I've been sort of vague about it, but I've been working on it nonstop now for a little while. FRR is a project that's very much in flux. Like like there's a lot of features being added to it all the time, and that includes features for netconf. And just like grabbing the latest release, already there's only like half of the Yang models that are supported by FRR are missing if you take the latest release. If you take from master, there's significant bug fixes and more Yang models for netconf. Not only that, but there's external dependencies for netconf, and those are also a little bit in flux. And if you can't use the latest releases of those you can't. You have to take from master for those projects in order to work with FRR. So what that means is building that image is kind of a pain. And what I did there's two things I did really for the, I guess that'll be useful to the community. I made a script. This is another thing. FRR, they don't have directions for building FRR on Debian 10, but if you look at the directions they have for Debian 9, they tell you that you should use Debian 10 because they have requirements for stuff that was built for Debian 10, which was just released. So as the current stable for Debian. So what I did was I made a tool that'll build a QCOW image from the Debian mini ISO installer. And when it's done, it's already set up to be used. When you just type in one command, it downloads the mini ISO installer. It makes modifications to the ISO image, and then it runs the installer. And then when it's done running the installer, you have a Debian QCOW image which can immediately plug into NRE Labs. It has the right username and passwords on it and the right permissions, and it's ready to go. So it's super easy. You don't have to actually go through the installer yourself. You don't have to type anything or install anything. Once the installer is done, everything's taken care of, and the ISO image can be used for whatever you want. So if there's some project out there that you really like and you want to build an image that has it on there, for instance, I got to rebuild the Netbox image that we're using, which I'm going to do using the Debian this Debian tool, and then you can do that, right? And it'll greatly simplifies it. And I'm going to make one for CentOS as well, because it's you can do exactly the same thing for CentOS. If there's another Linux, did you guys have an opinion on which Linux images we should do this for?
Debian is fine. I used to be a Debian developer, so
okay.
Great.
Yeah, Stephen, any thoughts? What Linux image do you prefer?
I usually work Debian based, like Ubuntu, so Debian's fine.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
I know some people prefer CentOS, so I will do it for CentOS just because. But I figure CentOS and Debian is all we really need for that.
CentOS is a good idea. Yep.
Yeah. And the thing that's terrible about it is that even though I'm doing a minimal install, it requires like at least 3 gigabytes of disk space to install. But when it boots, it runs in less than 200 megs of RAM, which is good. And so I don't have time to do this now, but at some point, today I was going through all of the default drivers that are installed when you build a Linux kernel from scratch. And what is horrifying about that is there is there is so much stuff installed into the kernel by default that is, it just blows my mind. Like PCMCIA, remember those things? Those cards, PCMCIA cards from like 15 or 20 years ago?
Yep.
I don't think they're being used anymore by anyone, but it installs that. It installs a million different Ethernet drivers. It installs support for all kinds of weird, like packet over radio, and I believe it's packet over radio. uh, Weird Bluetooth things. I'm not sure what they are, but there's like I'm just going to disable Bluetooth. That's an image that runs in the cloud. We don't need that. A million audio drivers, all kinds of different weird storage drivers and different RAID array drivers and all that stuff. So from what I gather, if we just focus on storage, networking, graphics, and storage, networking, graphics, and there was the fourth one, sound, and then there's like miscellaneous drivers for different things, like different peripherals and like drawing tablets, right? There's many different drivers for those. And for
Floppy
whatever
disk.
reason, they're all built into the kernel. So and when you download the mini ISO installer, and you run it, you end up with an image that has all of that stuff installed, even though you're running it in the cloud. And you can definitely pare the image down by something like 800 meg of installed binaries by limiting all those drivers. So that's what I'm going to try to do. But that's, for now, that's not a huge priority. There's so many other things we have to do, but if that's something any of you would like to give a try, I definitely encourage that. I will say the documentation is really, really bad. It's horrible, and how to go about doing this, because it's changed over time, right? But all of the websites that have ever talked about building a kernel starting in the year 2000 still exist, and when you Google for it, they come up. So you have to be careful what you're looking at. So we have a thing that builds a Debian image. That's the first step to building the FRR image. The second thing is I wrote some bash code to actually build all the netconf stuff in the right order and add it to systemd. Those things are up on my own GitHub repository, Cloud Toad, and I'll add links for that when we go about doing that. When I post the meeting notes. And so the last piece is building FRR itself and then getting default configuration files in place. And that's actually trivial to do. So it probably won't be today, but it'll probably be this weekend. I'll get that done. Then what I'll do is I'll make one sort of thing that combines all that stuff, and then builds that image from scratch in that order, so that we have a working FRR image with the integrated CLI and all that stuff, so that when you log into it, you can immediately, it's like you're logged into a router. Oh, man, there was other stuff that came up. Lisa's working on the co-sponsor docs. So as you know, Juniper's footing the bill for Energy Labs, and we're looking for co-sponsors, which will keep the project alive for probably ever if we landed a co-sponsor. And we have 2 potential co-sponsors, Packet Pushers and Cumulus, that we're talking to. We're moving the conversation with Packet Pushers forward in a good way. We worked with them to develop some bash lessons to put into the Packet Pushers collection on our website. I'm not sure that the collections part is live yet. I think it's live, But Bash will be part of the Packet Pushers collection, the Bash lessons I was working on to get them sort of going. And I'll be training a couple of Packet Pushers people on how to create lessons, and we'll be negotiating with them because they express interest in co-sponsoring on how to get them going. Part of the co-sponsor document that Lisa's working on talks about like the different sort of levels of sponsorship, and but there's only one incentive, and that is you get to have your own collection on the website, and you can have lessons added to that collection that you've submitted. I think Matt is working on a way to let people embed content from the website into their website, and if we do that, we might restrict that to sponsors like Packet Pushers or Cumulus or something, just because it's that let's say Cumulus or Packet Pushers actually embeds lessons directly on their website. They get hundreds of thousands of visitors a day, and that would definitely introduce scale issues that we might not have that we haven't addressed yet. So that's why we would probably want to restrict that to sponsors. At least that's what we talked about so far. The Cumulus is the other one. We have a Cumulus demo that's committed and merged right now, but it needs to get picked up for. Right now, we're not doing nightly builds because PTR is down, because we moved to a different cloud provider. We went from Google to Packet, and Packet will. When we get this up and running, the nightly builds will go, and then the Cumulus demo will be there. And what we're looking for, for both the FRR image that'll be finished soon, hopefully this weekend, and for the Cumulus image, we're looking for people to potentially write lessons or using those images. This would be a big deal because that would help us be able to negotiate with those sponsors to to get them to co-sponsor. And the last thing is, I think part of we talked about how the Free Software Conservancy might actually help us with that co-sponsorship arrangement, because they sort of have, they do this for other projects, so we might actually, that's probably going to help us. They're going to help us develop the document, I think, and then end up helping us find ways to manage our funds, because we're a 501(c), right? We're not for profit, et cetera, et cetera. So we ran into an issue with the Stackstorm lesson where during the process of doing the nightly builds for the project, when we recreated the Stackstorm image during our nightly build, it broke the lesson the last time we were doing nightly builds. And the reason is that there's a project out there called NetMiko, and they had to update. Let me rephrase that. Does everyone know what Text FSM is? You've heard of this module from Google?
Yes, sir.
No or yes? Yeah, so TextFSM is really cool. It's so, in fact, for network automation people, people use it because, as you know, we don't get structured data back from the CLI, or even some netcomp calls do not give structured data back. They give a blob of text that has embedded within it things like tabs and spaces, in order to create the illusion of a table, let's say. Well, TextFSM basically converts those kind of outputs into structured data. And about a year ago, November 2018, TextFSM made a breaking change to their API where because they turned their TextFSM into a package. and they, when they did that, they broke a lot of different. Well, not to say a lot, but they did break a bunch of different other projects, and NetMiko was one of those projects that recently that were probably back in be June or July. They finally broke somehow. It took them a year, but their project finally broke because of that change back in November, and it was during that time that is the last time we did a nightly build for the images. So that's why StackStorm was broken, and we had to go and update the StackStorm Napalm module. We committed upstream a change that'll ensure that wherever you're building that module, you must have a NetMiko like 2.4.1 or greater, so that it doesn't break. But so as soon as our nightly builds are back up, that'll resolve itself, because it's just a build. They're just rebuilding it. I don't really have much else at this time for the project, but Matt was going to jump on and do an overview of the open source summit he went to in San Diego, but it looks like
I might have a few bits in between.
You might have what?
A few bits to
Okay.
discuss, or just to plan to discuss for next meetup. So as Matt announced that he would go to Lyon, France, I guess it's around Halloween for the Open Source Summit Europe. I was thinking about planning some French community meetup, maybe, or some more European meetup. So I don't know if there would be a way to gather interest of interested parties that could go to Lyon, or that would have already planned to go for the Open Source Summit. So I don't know. Myself, I'm based in Paris, which isn't far from Lyon, but I'm not sure I'll make the trip only for meeting Matt, or maybe if Matt is traveling through Paris, we could also organize something around Paris, which might gather more people. I don't know. So I don't know if there is a kind of schedule of future events or something like that could be set up, but that could be some other venue of the project. I don't know. So maybe I can try to organize something. I don't have much fund to dedicate, but at least I could arrange booking a restaurant or something like that in French.
I'll tell you what. Why don't you go to the community site, and I'll status that you brought this up. This is a great idea. Matt and I have been talking about doing establishing meetups and other stuff for a long time, and we could use the help. If that's something you would like to help coordinate, we'll push it on all of our channels, and then we'll even see if we can't leverage some of Juniper's channels in Europe to promote. We have friends over there all over the place that we could probably, with good social media presence, that I think we could leverage to push as well. And I like this idea. We should definitely do that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And I was also thinking about maybe submitting a presentation proposal for another event that is called also Open Source Summit, I guess, but it's not the same organizers, which is happening in Paris around December, I guess, where I could basically give an introduction to antidote more than NRE Labs, maybe because I'm not myself so much into networking, so I don't have a clear idea of the contents of all the lessons, but at least the Bash ones or the Python ones I can give a presentation about. So I don't know, here also I can just present as myself from my university, or just try and do something more associate with some Juniper folks, or I don't know. So so that was my idea for December, maybe in Paris. So if we can't organize something in Lyon in October, it could be also something in Paris in December.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, please. Let's do, if you need help with that call for paper, I don't know how, I mean, it's different how every event, you know.
Yeah, I was just thinking about copy pasting Matt's Matt's one, but maybe it is a bit too I don't know, too much of a marketing about Teneri Labs, and I'm just a side contributor, so I may not be speaking exactly as Matt could, but people can't expect me to give details on Juniper's strategy or something, but still I can.
No, just talk about the platform. That's all you got to do.
Yeah,
Just talk
yeah.
about the platform.
Technical details and Kubernetes and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's a great idea. If you, I will, and you know what, I'll see how we can support you in that effort. You know, what we can possibly do to, you know, to help you do that.
Yeah.
You know, whether we're putting a demo together, we can promote it. We can, you know, if you're call for paper, we can help you with the call for paper submission, whatever help you need. You know, let's get together like a community, and we'll try to make it happen.
Yeah.
So I would, again, I would do two separate posts, one for the Lyon visit from Matt,
Yeah.
and possible meetup, and then I would do a separate another post for the call for paper for this second event.
Yeah.
And then we'll try to we'll go from there. Lisa and myself in particular, that this would be our sort of area to help with setting up events and promoting them and stuff like that. So yeah, I think both ideas are awesome. We should do that.
Okay, I'll try and find time this week to post all of that.
Yep. So Stephen, do you have any anything at all? Comments, wishes, wishes that might be granted? No guarantees.
I do have a wish. I contributed some documentation on running Antidote through a Vagrant file, and I wanted to see if we can get that reviewed before. I think Matt wanted to do a Twitch live stream on it. And so I wanted to see if we can get that done before the live stream in September.
That's September 9th, right?
Correct.
Yeah. I believe that we should be able to get that live before September. Again, it comes right now. Our nightly builds aren't running because PTR is down, and Matt is focused on fixing that. I imagine that should be fixed for sure by September 9th.
Okay.
And I'll verify with him on that. Since we changed cloud providers, Matt's had to rebuild, you know, big important pieces of the project, including our public test realm site. But once he gets that done, then it'll be like that night or the next night, and all these things that have been waiting for the nightly builds it'll just magically happen.
Okay, great. Thanks.
And I will note that for the in the meeting notes that you mentioned that.
Okay.
All right.
I had also a question. Did you put the recording of last week's meetup on YouTube, or did I miss it?
Oh, you mean the stand-up?
Yeah.
No, I slipped my mind. I'll take care of that today, and
Okay.
I'll put the notes. I'll do today's and I'll do last week's as well. And there's another one that's missing from the 13th that
Because I
needs.
was on vacation, I wanted to follow up a bit, and yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. So actually, we did go over some of the comments you made on the
Yeah.
governance
Yeah.
docs. Did you see the comments on GitHub?
I didn't take time to review everything in detail, but I guess it was okay. So there was no real question asking for clarification. So it was just my contribution, and I guess it was good enough. I wasn't worried if I had no real responses. So no problem.
Okay. Yep. I'll get that posted today.
Okay, thanks. Something else, unless no, maybe we have still some time. I was wondering about drafting a kind of student project proposal for some of our engineering school students, which could maybe help a bit contribute to Antidote. But I wasn't sure what could be interesting given the current roadmap, and something that wasn't too hard or stable enough to build upon. So I don't know, that might be something also I could post, like, do you have a feature that you would like to see potential contributors to work on? Or I'm not sure my project could be adopted by a group of students, and they would be interested. But
You mean a project for your students to work on?
yeah.
Do you mean on the platform itself, or do you mean like a lesson they could create?
I guess it could be more on the platform, because the students I'm in contact with aren't so much into networking. It's more a major in distributed systems and software engineering and
Well, so if you look at our content, there's a lot of content that is not networking specific. Like there's
yeah.
YAML and Bash and stuff like that. But there's so there is room for them to contribute when it's not relevant to networking. Distributed systems is also relevant, so that's it's possible if there's content that they would, if they want to demonstrate automation concepts in distributed systems, which there certainly is, right? I mean,
Yeah, could be interesting.
there's that, which that be totally acceptable for the for content, and for the project itself, for the platform itself. I would look at Matt's mini project proposals. I think he's only posted one of them, to be honest. But what we can do is I'm just making a note in the notes here that you asked for this. What we can do is we can talk to Matt. We can either on the community site or maybe open an issue. That you'd like to discuss. What would be an ideal project for your students to work on on the platform. There's because there's lots of work going on. I mean, there's lots of things that we have to do, and they're in the mini proposals that Matt should be posting. In fact, the core of the project is Syringe, and I think that would be probably the part that you'd be most interested in. If distributed systems, I'm guessing
Yeah,
college.
most likely that could be quite interesting, but I fear it would be moving too much for students to like take something, learn the documentation, and then improve. And that wouldn't be a valid contribution in the end if Matt's working in parallel. So maybe something that would be more external to the core and more, yeah, or something like what you did with the FRR, like trying to build a test bed that could run over for a lesson.
Okay, you mean like yeah, like build like something that auto builds like images for the content.
Maybe what I would be interested in trying to see if we can use KubeVirt or stuff like that.
What is it called?
KubeVirt.
KubeVirt.
Yeah, KubeVirt, sorry, my accent.
Yeah, so that would that wow, that'd be fun. That'd be a yeah, you know what? Uh yeah, let's talk to Matt about that because we've been talking about KubeVirt for a little while now. There's another one called Firecracker
yeah.
by AWS that are like kind of similar. So that's a great idea. In fact, one of the reasons why I did the Debian build is because we want to get away from using just raw containers for the project, for the lessons. We want to put everything inside of a VM now because there's actually there's all kinds of security vulnerabilities when you give people SSH access to containers, even though they're supposed to be contained. We need to stop doing that. So we're gonna we're actually all the things, whether it's a networking device or whether it's just a server in the topology, all of them will be in VMs. So and when that part of that plan is we want to migrate to KubeVirt or to Firecracker
or kata containers too.
Yep. So
maybe that could be something I can try and propose to students. Maybe they don't have a clue and don't want to work on that, and they prefer something else. But but let's ask Matt. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, he's more represents the platform side, and I don't want to commit to anything without his input. So let's just open a discussion. Either you can open an issue on actually no, because that wouldn't make sense. But I just start a third post now on the community site and tag Matt and we'll get the conversation going there. Another thing is internationalization. That's something we've talked about.
Yeah.
And I would imagine non-English speakers know more about internationalization than English speakers. I have never in my life had to deal with internationalization ever. And
I've been thinking a bit about it, but for sure this isn't the right project that could be interesting for my students. But if I had some time, I would try to start to make a prototype, something to assess the difficulty with the technologies. Like, are there any frameworks for internalization of JavaScript stuff? How is it done in the VNC and SSH proxy, the Apache project, Guacamole, stuff like that. So, and also, can you find good frameworks for translating the guides, stuff like that. So, but that's not really sexy, I guess. So for students, definitely not. But yeah, I guess it's a mini project that could be worth investigating. And the sooner the better, because if, say, the GUI revamping that you outsource is made on a framework that doesn't support internationalization, that could be problematic. So the sooner the better, probably. But
yeah, we'll try. I mean, I wouldn't even know where to start, but we can certainly try. I don't think it'll be that hard to do. I just right off the top of my head, I've just never done it. We'd have to figure it out, and that I'll bring it up with Matt.
I guess there is already an issue somewhere.
There is. I think you opened it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I can talk to Matt about bumping that, and we are paying. I mean, there's parts of the project that we're not web developers, for instance, and I don't know about the platform itself being internationalized, but the actual all the content that's presented to the user, um, through the web front end, that could be obviously internationalized, and there is a company that I think we'd like to include in the scope of the work, internationalization of all the content, at least internationalizing the content, or having a framework for internationalizing all the content. That way, again, like you just provided those translations for YouTube, it'd be cool if we had translations for a different repository. They had a different whatever. They had translations for all the website and the content, and then it'd be managed the same way.
There are issues of revision control, stuff like that, to make sure that everything is in sync and so on. So I guess there are platforms that you can use to delegate the translation, like WebLatte or others that are used by the Linux translation projects, or GNOME or KDE or whatever, so that people can just focus on translating the content or the strings in the GUI, stuff like that. But it may go beyond that if there are snippets where the context of execution is supposed to be running with a different locale and stuff like that. So in the case where you want, like, say, do some Python with French locale and the snippets have to be translated, but you don't want to add bugs. So it might become a bit complex. So I don't know. Maybe we'll find out when we try. So.
Okay. Yeah, we'll definitely we'll try to figure it out. And you know what? You'll be part of that, because I don't even know what the challenges are for non-English speaking people when they're trying to navigate the project. So I think your input would be extremely helpful as that unfolds. In fact, we'll try to I'll see about getting you invited to because this internationalization part is coming up with this contractor, and when it does, I'll see about getting you on the call if it's possible.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't imagine it wouldn't be.
Well, my teaching agenda is a bit dense at the moment in forthcoming months, but nevertheless, I'll try my best.
Okay. So I know I put a note in here about internationalization, and I think I have unless anyone has anything else, we're coming up on the hour. Nothing?
Nope.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for participating. I'll post notes. I'll get the last week's recording up, and I'll post notes, and then I'll do the same with today. All right.
Thanks a lot. Happy hacking.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.